darkness, truths unravel. Welcome to Darkroom Narratives, where every story leaves a shadow. Hello, scary story lovers. Now you will hear about three friends who went deep into the Everglades. Only one returned.
The idea came on a Wednesday night over beers, the kind of talk that usually fades by morning. But this time, no one backed down. Three men, old friends, a boat, and a weekend cut off from everything. Jack was the one who pushed it hardest. A born explorer, always chasing something just out of reach, a high, a thrill, or a reason to forget. Luis, the skeptic, rolled his eyes at the plan, but deep down, he needed it more than anyone. He was tired of work, of people, of the city. And then there was Danny, quiet, steady, recently divorced. He hadn't spoken much in weeks. This trip felt like a rescue mission for him. They rented the boat from a gas station dock on the edge of the Everglades. The clerk didn't ask many questions, just glanced up at them with the kind of look that says, "Tourists," and handed them a laminated map and a cooler. None of them had much experience with swamp navigation. But the sun was high, the beer was cold, and Jack's confidence was loud enough for all three. As they pushed off, trees bent over the channel like watchful giants. Airboats roared in the distance, then faded, until there was only the hum of insects and the splash of the paddle. The deeper they went, the quieter it became. Not peaceful quiet, but the kind that presses against your ears. The kind that listens back. Somewhere around the third bend, cell signals dropped to nothing. They joked about it at first, but something about that silence, that real, permanent silence, felt bigger than they'd expected. Luis lit a cigar and laughed. "We're officially off-grid. Now, let's not get eaten by gators." Danny just looked out into the trees, expression unreadable. Jack grinned, twisting the throttle. Let the real world wait. By sundown, the water turned to glass. And that night, as the fire crackled on a mossy island, the trees around them didn't move, but somehow they all felt watched. Morning came heavy and wet, the kind of heat that sticks to your skin before the sun even rises. Jack was already at the waterline, barefoot, shirtless, throwing stones into the shallows. "Didn't think it'd be this peaceful, huh?" he said. Luis stretched, rubbed the sleep from his eyes. "Peaceful, yeah? Also full of things that can eat your legs." Danny was the last to rise. He hadn't slept well, not because of the heat or the bugs, but something else. Something that kept brushing against the edge of his thoughts like a whisper you can't quite hear. They packed up camp, slid the boat back into the water, and paddled onward, deeper into the swamp. The cypress trees thickened. Their roots jutted from the water like grasping fingers. Spanish moss draped down like nature's forgotten veils. The air buzzed, not just with insects, but with something unspoken. Around noon, they found a wide stretch of still water. No sound, no wind. It was unnaturally quiet. Even Jack hesitated. "Feels like the eye of something," he muttered. Luis scoffed, but his voice was too loud in the silence. They kept going. At some point, they passed a half-sunken boat, rusted, broken. No markings, no name, no sign of anyone. Danny stared at it the longest. "Shouldn't we say something? Like a prayer?" Jack joked, but no one laughed. Not really. Later, they pulled ashore at a small, muddy island to rest. There were prints in the mud, human-sized, but wrong. Toes too long. The stride off. Jack insisted they were gator tracks. Danny said nothing. He was staring into the trees again. That night, the fire refused to light for almost an hour. Matches wouldn't catch. The wood was dry, but it hissed like it was soaked. When the flames finally rose, They burned with a pale blue hue. Not normal, Louise said flatly. But none of them wanted to talk about it. They sat in silence, listening to the dark. At some point, long past midnight, something moved in the water. They all heard it, but no one looked. The next morning, Jack was gone. No note, no footprints, just his fishing pole stuck into the mud near the edge of the island, like he'd walked into the swamp and disappeared. Luis called his name until his voice cracked. Danny searched silently, sweeping the tree-line with a flashlight in broad daylight. Maybe he paddled out early? Luis offered. Tried a new spot. Danny didn't answer. He just stared at the rippling water. They waited. By noon, the temperature had spiked to unbearable. By evening, the fear had settled like fog. They fired off a flare. It fizzled out midair. Radio? Dead. No signal. The night fell fast, as it always does in the swamp. But it brought something colder than darkness. The sense that something was watching. They took turns staying awake. Luis, jittery, held a knife in his lap. Danny sat farther away from the campfire than he should have, staring into the reeds. He didn't blink much. He didn't talk at all. At one point, Luis heard something splash, not far from shore. He turned. Nothing there. But the water was moving. And then he saw it. Jack's hat. Floating. Only it wasn't wet. It was just past 3 a.m. when Danny shook Luis awake. There's something walking, he whispered. Out there. Luis blinked, trying to focus. And then he heard it too, the soft crunch of feet on wet ground. Slow, deliberate, coming closer. They stood, flashlights scanning the trees. For a moment, nothing. Then, someone stepped out of the darkness. It was Jack. His shirt was torn, caked in mud. No shoes, no bag. But his face was wrong. Expressionless, blank. His eyes glassy, like he wasn't looking at them, but through them. He spoke, but not like Jack. His voice was slower, flatter. Got lost. I'm fine now. Luis took a step forward. Jack, what the hell happened? Fog. Couldn't see. Slept in the boat, he said. There was no boat. Danny didn't say anything. But he didn't blink. Didn't move. He just stared. Jack sat near the fire like nothing had changed. He didn't eat. Didn't drink. He didn't even flinch when the mosquitoes bit his arms. Luis tried to talk, to joke. Nothing. Jack only stared at the fire, unblinking. That night, none of them slept. At some point, Jack stood up and walked to the edge of the island, staring into the water for hours. Just standing there, like he was waiting for something. Or listening. Danny whispered, "That's not him." Luis didn't want to agree, but he already knew. By sunrise, the sky over the Everglades was the color of rust. The air still. Even the insects were quiet. Jack hadn't moved from the shore. He stood motionless, staring into the water. Danny didn't take his eyes off him. Luis kept pacing. "We need to leave," Luis muttered. "Get back. Today." Danny finally spoke. "That's not Jack." Luis stopped. "Come on, man," he's in shock. "Maybe dehydrated. We've just got to." No. He came back. But something else came with him. They tried to convince Jack to get in the boat. He didn't answer. When Luis grabbed his arm gently, Jack flinched, just once, and then smiled. A long, empty smile. Not like Jack's smile. They left him. Paddling out felt wrong, like the water didn't want them to go. The current twisted in strange ways. Birds circled overhead, silent. Halfway back, the engine sputtered. Died. They drifted for an hour. Then, from behind the reeds, a voice. "Danny, come back." They froze. It was Jack's voice, but it didn't sound like it was calling from a throat. More like from inside their heads. Danny grabbed the oar. "We have to keep going." Luis nodded, face pale. As they paddled harder, the trees along the banks began to look too similar. The turns, too familiar. They realized they were going in circles. The Everglades weren't letting them go. The fourth day began with a smell, something rotting. Luis woke up coughing. The boat had drifted to the edge of a dense grove where the trees pressed in too tight, roots thick like limbs, water too still. Danny stood on the bow, eyes fixed on something in the distance. He turned slowly. We're not supposed to be here. Luis sat up. No kidding. I mean it, Danny said. It's not just lost. It's like we were brought. Suddenly, a noise behind them, a splash. They turned. Jack was standing in the water, half submerged, still smiling. Come back, he said. But the voice wasn't his. It came from somewhere beneath him. Danny reached for the flare gun. Fired. A burst of red lit up the swamp, and Jack vanished. The light also revealed a path. Narrow, unnatural, but leading through the trees. They paddled toward it, fast. Branches scratched at their arms. Voices, real voices, echoed faintly ahead. By midday, they broke through into open water. A rescue boat. Rangers. Radios crackling. Luis collapsed into the boat. Danny just stared behind them until the tree disappeared. They were treated for exhaustion. The medics said dehydration, trauma, stress, but no one believed what they told the Rangers. Luis tried to explain the voice, the way Jack stood, the way the swamp bent reality. They nodded politely, wrote down nothing. Danny said nothing. For weeks, he didn't talk at all. Then, one night, Luis called him. You awake? Silence. Then Danny whispered, he's here. Luis froze. Who? But the line went dead. Luis drove over, broke into the house, found Danny in the kitchen, just staring. The walls were scratched, deep claw marks, as if something tried to get out. In the sink, swamp water, still dripping, still dark. Danny never spoke again. Luis moved away, changed his name. But sometimes, late at night, he still hears it. A voice, low and cold, coming through the walls. Come back.
If you're still here, it means the shadows didn't scare you away. Subscribe to Darkroom Narratives for more stories that linger long after the lights go out.